But I took my first walk there 2006, and that basically changed the whole direction of my life, where I decided to go the route I'm doing now. And I'm quite happy to say that I today am fulfilling my sole purpose, living on a beautiful island, and doing podcasts, doing regular trainings with groups, and doing a lot of walking up in the mountains close by, living in nature. So I'm in a good place now, which wasn't the case some 14, 15 years ago.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stephenson, the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, where our ongoing goal is to help empower you to live your best audacious life ever. It's always a pleasure to be here sharing insights, inspiration, and transformative stories that can help you embrace your true potential. I truly appreciate you for spending some time out of your day to join us on this journey of growth and discovery. Today, we're diving into the profound lessons that nature offers us about life, growth, and the interconnectedness of all things. Nature serves as a powerful analogy, reminding us that just as trees bend with the wind and flowers bloom in their own time, we too must adapt and grow through life's challenges. Personal courage can often be sparked by the bravery of others, and our community connections play a vital role in shaping our identities and purpose. As we explore this theme, it's essential to recognize the signs from the universe that prompt us to transform and evolve, guiding us towards our true calling. In today's episode, I'm thrilled to be welcoming Reino Gevers, a passionate mentor, coach, and author. Originally from South Africa, Reino has spent over 3 decades in journalism, covering significant events that shaped his homeland. After transitioning to personal development, he became a beacon of inspiration for individuals seeking to reconnect with their authentic selves. His journey through the Camino de Santiago pilgrimage has profoundly influenced his life's work as well as his philosophy. Reino's relevance to our episode lies in his deep understanding of nature's role in purposeful living, as well as his insights into the importance of adaptability and community. So now that we've got you all set and we're ready to go, let's turn to our conversation with Reino. Enjoy. Hey, Reino, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate you for making the time to be here. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you. I'm happy to be on your show.
Yeah, this is great. I know we were going back and forth for a while now to try and figure out a time and date that worked. And the cool thing about all that back and forth, it doesn't matter anymore because we're here, right? And so, I'm excited. It provides an opportunity for us to have this dialogue. I know you spend a lot of time in the space of personal development, and you work with people. You author books. You encourage walking. So we're talking about. Want to get in all of that. So maybe as a starting point, Reino, I'd get you to introduce yourself to our audience, and let's talk about what you've been doing up to this point and to the point that we're at now.
Okay, I'm a born and bred South African, 4th generation South African.
Mm-hmm.
My great-grandfather immigrated to South Africa as a missionary. So my family does come from a Christian religious background. And I then took a different path going into journalism as a young man at the age of 22. And I then more or less was forced to leave South Africa because at the time all white male South Africans were forced to do a regular military service, and this particular call-up was in the war zone between Namibia and Angola. So at a very short notice, I left South Africa,
Mm-hmm.
and went to Germany, to the country of my ancestors.
Okay. Okay.
And that's where I stayed for a good 30 years, working for an international news agency. I left the media industry some 14 years ago when the digital revolution changed the whole
Right.
ecosystem of the media. The journalism as such also changed so much that I went into an entirely different avenue, becoming a mentor, a coach, and trainer in personal development. And before that, before I actually made this great move into a different direction, I took a walk on the ancient pilgrimage route, Camino de Santiago,
Mm.
an ancient pilgrimage path that has been revived was revived in the 1980s by a Catholic priest and has become increasingly popular. But I took my first walk there 2006, and that basically changed the whole direction of my life, where I decided to go the route I'm doing now. And I'm quite happy to say that I today am fulfilling my sole purpose, living on a beautiful island, and doing podcasts, doing regular trainings with groups, and doing a lot of walking up in the mountains close by, living in nature. So I'm in a good place now, which wasn't the case some 14, 15 years ago.
Out of curiosity, what was happening for you back then? What makes it so different in your life?
Well, look, I went into journalism because I wanted to change things.
Hmm.
I was a writer, always enjoyed writing, but the whole media industry changed to such an extent that I was no longer happy
Mm.
working in traditional media because it had become more entertainment rather than informing and educating the reader. It was more reproducing news that other people had written, which was totally contradictory to the beginning of my career, where I spent a lot of time on site interviewing people and visiting different locations. One of the great highlights in my journalism career was the covering the democratic elections in South Africa in
Hmm.
1994.
Okay.
And prior to that, also covering the release of Nelson Mandela from prison in
Mm.
1990. And I was in a select small group of journalists who interviewed him in his house a few months after his release, which was really
Wow.
something that really impressed me. This man who entered the room and was so totally without vindictiveness, without
Mm.
hate, totally into seeing the bigger picture, in creating a rainbow nation
Mm.
and a peaceful new democratic country.
Yes.
So those were the highlights in my journalism career. And all that, of course, changed when the traditional newspaper industry started dying, and a lot of the traditional news reporting was dying with it. And
Right.
so I was no longer in a happy place. And at the same time, I was in a dysfunctional marriage. So all the pointers from the
Right.
universe were there. You got to change something. You got to do something different.
Right. Gotcha. Makes total sense now. Makes loud and clear. Like, and you're right. Like there's sometimes it's the signs are clear and obvious, and something has to change. And oftentimes, it's with our approach or our mindset to things is where the work begins really. And so, I'm really happy to hear that you did that.
Yeah, sometimes we have to go through a pain of major change,
Mm.
to change course, to take a different path. The pointers sometimes are very clear from the universe,
Yes.
when you confront all the more challenges, and the signs are all there that you've got to change. But you're still in the mind, in the head mind, which says, no, you're in a safe place. You've done this all these
Right.
years. Why change something?
Right.
But
Right. Right.
quite honestly, life is always change,
Yes.
and I believe if we don't adapt to external circumstances, especially to external circumstances that we cannot change,
That's right.
then we're going to be in a very unhappy place.
Yep, yep. I think the word I think the word adaptability or adapt is so fitting when we talk about the conversation around change, because it's our response to the change that we endure really is going to really determine how effective we get through the change, right? Like it's our response always, and I think the quicker that we can adapt and the quicker that we can re-strategize, the quicker we can, I know the word pivot was a big one a few years ago. The quicker we can do all these things, you're mitigating that change curve, if you will, and you're shrinking it. So I think it's a that I think adaptability is really, really important when we talk about change.
Yeah, I certainly think one shouldn't change one's own values, not by any means.
Mm,
But if we take nature as an analogy, if we observe nature, the plant life, the animal life, those species that don't adapt to changing external climate or other circumstances, they become extinct.
mm,
And I think it's the same with humans. If we remain stuck in ancient, antiquated ideologies, or fall back to the past, then we're going to end up being in an unhappy place, and not moving forward in an evolutionary approach, which I think is part of the divine, divine, um, uh, let's say, divine wish, um, to constantly change, adapt, and reconfigure.
No, you're right. I think looking to nature is just a wonderful thing because there's so many lessons that we can learn when we talk about obviously change. I mean, you look from one season to the next and how nature adjusts to that change in climate. And there's lessons we can learn from that. But I also think there's when I guess on the topic of nature, there's things that you can learn even just about how we live our lives. And I'll use the term purposeful living. I wonder if you could speak on that a little bit.
Yes, I think let's stay with that the analogy of nature.
Hmm.
Let's start with the birth process, where the analogy is spring, the beginning of life, or the beginning of a new idea, or
Hmm.
a new stage in life, the birthing process, which then gains fruition going into summer, and
Yes.
from the summer you move into autumn, where you harvest all you put in in springtime and summertime, and from the late summer, autumn, you gradually moving into winter, and
Mm,
winter is the time to withdraw. You see that in
mm,
nature, where the leaves fall away from the trees. You see nature in its bare essence.
yes.
You're back into your essence, and that is the period we all need. We need that period of silence, of contemplation, to rediscover who we are, and maybe to make changes for the next coming season, for the next spring season. It won't be the same as the last season.
Yes.
So we need a timeout. Uh, and unfortunately, most of us don't take that time out to
Mm,
reconfigure, to realign, because there's so many distractions in the world out there pulling at our mind, pulling us this way, that way. And the big challenge in our time, of course, is all the disinformation, the fake media that is all out there, telling us all sorts of lies and who we are supposed to be. And a
Right.
lot of people are reacting by simply withdrawing and not
Right.
wanting to know anything about the world out there. But
Yep.
we need to know about the world out there. It's part of our, it's that world that influences us um, in many ways.
Sure.
So we can't withdraw and become a hermit.
Well,
But
the problem, or at least the challenge that I have with that approach of that hermit life is, I truly believe that we all are here on this planet together, and we're meant to be connected in some way, some shape or form. And through that connectedness is how we're advanced forward. You look at sort of how throughout the years how society has advanced technologically wise, right? It wasn't one person sitting in a corner by themselves thinking of this great idea and here we go and give it to the rest of the world. It was advancement. It was one building on another idea, someone taking another idea and taking to new heights. I mean, the whole internet is based on sharing, if you really look at it, and how and building on existing ideas. And so you take that hermit lifestyle, I think you limit not only just yourself but the society as a whole to grow, evolve, and become better.
exactly, I think we have been born for a purpose, and we human beings are social beings. We need that interconnection because uh, let's take the child after birth. The child, going back to early spring, is formed by the family, the community, the
Mm-hmm.
village, uh, and becomes a human being from all the influence it is exposed to, and especially the friends that person chooses later in life. I think there's the saying that show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are,
Mm-hmm.
because I think they influence us in more ways than we know, especially when it comes to exchange of ideas and beliefs. Uh, therefore, I always tell children, choose your friends wisely because they form and shape you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And I think the piece, and so what makes that so critical, that piece of advice is, as we're formed and shaped into our authentic selves and our true selves, the person that we're supposed to be, that allows us to go out into the world and have the impact that we are meant to be. Now, I'll tell you a really, real quick story. A friend of mine, I mean, regular listeners to the podcast has heard the story a million and one times, and I'll tell it again, but because it's a really good one. But a friend of mine, she was an accountant in the corporate world, and she'd gone to school for many years for it. She was very successful, enjoyed the work that she had done. But there was still something that was missing for her from a fulfillment or satisfaction standpoint. And she was sharing just her thoughts with me about this. And through that conversation, she told me of a woman she had heard of, didn't know this individual personally, but had heard of a woman who also had been a very accomplished accountant in her field and had worked in the corporate space as well. But that woman also wasn't satisfied, and she decided to make a change, make a pivot to work with small business and not for profits. She made that change, sort of launched a successful business in that field. Is deeply satisfied and excited at being able to help not-for-profits and small businesses, and that fulfillment and satisfaction that she wasn't getting in the corporate world now it's available to her all the time, and she loves it. And so, my friend is telling the story, and as she's telling the story, she's getting excited, and I paused for a second. I said, "So look at this. You're telling me a story about a person who wasn't satisfied with what they were doing, and they took a bold leap, an audacious step into a new realm, to something they're now excited about, and they're happy about it. That person doesn't know you, but you're telling their story, and you're finding inspiration from what they had done. And that person simply was being true to themselves. And that's inspired you, and you're now thinking the same thing. I'll even take it a step further. I'm now telling the story on my podcast, and this woman who made that initial leap has no idea about the ripples and all the impacts that she's had simply by being her true authentic self and living towards that. So I wanted to share that because I think it's very much in line with what we are talking about here.
Yes, and it takes courage. And if you
Yes.
see other people being courageous, you develop courage yourself. A lot of people, for instance, ask me, well, how do I find my purpose in life? Sometimes there is not one purpose. Sometimes uh, the accountant has to work in a certain job in a corporate world in order to develop those skills to do something different at a later stage in life. Uh, so the purpose can change over different stages in life. Uh, Very often this happens during midlife when suddenly a person discovers, well, all along I've placed my ladder against the wrong wall. But
Mm,
now I've got a mortgage, now I've got debts to pay off, I got a good salary, but I'm not happy in the job I'm doing. But still, if you stay in that unhappy place, if you stay in a job that is unfulfilling, no longer serving your higher self, your purpose,
yes.
uh, the universe will start telling you or teaching you some lessons.
Yes.
Something happens, you might get ill, circumstances change, the pain gets so big that the pain forces you to change.
Mm. Yeah, no, I definitely see that. I definitely see that.
This is
And
the comfort zone becoming very
yeah,
uncomfortable.
that's right. Leave that comfort zone and go into a new space. No, absolutely. Um, you. Well, I mentioned off the top that walking is something that you find great value in, and in terms of just our overall well-being. It's something that you feel is significant. I wonder if you sort of can talk about, I guess I guess the importance of walking in nature, particularly.
Yes, when I started my first pilgrimage walk, uh, it was only a week, but I was so unfit and mentally and physically in such a bad place that I uh, had blistered feet, my back was hurting, and it was quite an emotional and physical challenge. And the following year, I did the whole Camino of more than 5.5 weeks, walking more than 12 miles a day, which really changed things. And it was more like a detoxing, both physically and mentally. And this is the thing I discovered with walking. It's literally walking off old stuff, old emotional and physical baggage. You're literally detoxing your whole mental and physical body and opening a space for something new.
Mm,
Because we human beings have been designed for walking. Our ancestors were out in the forests and the savannah hunting, so they were running and walking many miles a day.
right.
So our whole metabolism is designed for walking, and this is something you realize when you do more and more walking each day. Uh, and I certainly, for my own survival, I need at least one longish pilgrimage walk a year. And I'm in the fortunate position now of being able to do that once a year, taking a time out for at least 3 weeks to do my 12 to 15 miles a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that very healing, and more and more people are discovering this.
Yeah.
Like this year alone, we've had record numbers of people, more than
Yes.
300,000 walking the Camino pilgrimage route, more than
Hmm.
ever before.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
which on the one, it's not only a physical journey. I think a lot of people are in search of something spiritual, but
Yes.
something spiritual beyond religious dogma.
Mm.
It's opening space for experiential spirituality.
Yeah, no, and you're right. It is becoming more and more popular. Those pilgrims walking on the Camino for sure. De Santiago is more and more people are doing that, and they're finding. And I'm always fascinated on the other side of that pilgrimage, what they become, or what the takeaways or their learnings or the lessons or the new visions or the new direction. So I think it's just a wonderful, wonderful journey to go on. And again, I think that ties directly into we've talked about purposeful living, right? But I think that really points you in the direction. Those types of pilgrimage walks really point you in the direction of where you really ought to be, like in terms of who your true self, authentic self is.
Exactly. I think if you in your daily rut, it takes a lot of discipline to take time out. But if you have the opportunity of literally leaving your comfort zone completely for several weeks
Hmm. Hmm.
and going to an entirely different country, exploring an entirely different landscape, not knowing the language, the environment,
Yep.
you're out of your comfort zone. You're forced to spend time alone uh, and to rediscover who you really are.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that is, and I like the word rediscover. I really, really do. It says that because really what it says is that you were always that person, and you become someone brand new. You just
Yeah,
had
yeah,
to
yeah.
find yourself, so to speak.
It's interesting when you watch children at play.
Uh-huh.
Uh, in the early stages of life, a child is still full of this passion and enthusiasm.
Yes, they are.
And somewhere along, as they grow up, they lose that passion, that sense of fulfillment because schooling, education, or the external world indoctrinates that person
Yes.
into something they are not.
Yes.
Uh, and then it takes a long process to then rediscover
Yeah.
that passion, that inner calling of who
Yep.
you really are.
Yep. Yep. And the key in all this, it was always there. It wasn't.
It
It
was
was,
always there.
it was always.
I'll tell you an interesting story.
Hmm.
There was this girl working in the banking sector
Uh-huh.
who lost her job, and she was devastated at losing her well-paid job. Um, and we did some mentoring and coaching with her, and we went back to her childhood, uh, and we asked her, well, where uh, where was your passion when you were a child? What excited you?
Right.
Where did you find joy in your life? And she went back and she found that she loved dogs.
Okay.
She was absolutely passionate about spending time with dogs. So he went that way. You know what she's doing today? She has a doggy service.
I
She
love it.
picks up she picks up dogs from people who have to go to work and takes them out for walks. And now
I
she
love
has
it.
she has three employees and has a small business.
I love it. I love it. And that's all based out of just
And
what you
and
love,
and,
right?
and she's at a happy place.
Yes, no, and that's the key. I'm glad you added
Yeah,
that piece. That
yeah,
that is the most significant piece in all that you're happy, you're satisfied, you're happy, you're
yeah,
content doing what you're doing, and that's so
exactly.
important. It's so
Yeah,
important.
yeah, yeah. It's finding that place where your energy expands,
Yes.
where your energy doesn't sort of close up.
Yep.
It's where you feel that surge of energy, and you
Sure.
you, you and you feel it intuitively.
Yep, yep, yep. And yeah, that's those days we jump out of bed and can't wait to attack the day, and you're excited about what you do. And it's such a wonderful place to be because when you're in that zone of excitement, that's where we're the most creative and energetic and most passionate. And we exude this excitement, and those are the people that you want to be around because it's so infectious, right? And so,
Exactly,
yeah,
and that's where you attract the abundance in life.
yeah,
Money comes your way. You meet people who expand on that energy because, as you say, people are attracted to people who enter the room and where you instantly, spontaneously feel you want to connect with that person.
yeah. No, for sure. No, I love it. I absolutely love it. Would be remiss if you didn't talk. You got a whole whack of books that you've written. A couple certainly on the Camino pilgrimage, but also you've spent, I guess, is the most recent one, the Turning Circle, embracing nature's wisdom for purposeful living. It's a
Yeah,
mouthful, but it's
yeah,
certainly
yeah. I can just show you. This is
there. You go.
the first book I wrote after
Yep.
walking the Camino. That's a fiction book.
Yep.
It's a compilation of the stories of people I met on the Camino,
Yes.
and in a story form. And this is a nonfiction book, Deep Walking for Body, Mind, and Soul,
Okay. Nice.
of different lessons.
Okay.
Whilst walking. Um, Asking for help is one chapter. The Holy Grail, the magic of the moment,
Mm.
um, becoming into happiness, the topic we just had. And of course, the latest book is the more recent one is The Turning of the Circle,
Okay.
which is embracing nature's wisdom for purposeful living. What we spoke about earlier, that nature is an analogy of life and purpose, and how nature teaches us in finding purpose and meaning in the matrix of interconnectedness.
I love it.
And I've just finished my latest book. It's currently being edited, uh, called Sages, Saints, and Sinners. This is
Okay.
another novel inspired by the COVID epidemic, and
Ah,
this novel plays in medieval times during the Black Death because human reaction was very much the same.
gotcha.
Yeah, you had the same hysteria, you
Yep.
had the same blaming of minorities, conspiracy theories, all that. In that sense, human nature hasn't changed over the
Gotcha.
past few hundred years.
Mm. That's a great correlation. I think it's helps people to really recognize, that things oftentimes are the same if you look back in history.
Yeah, especially if the human being is caught in fear, anger, and anxiety.
Yep.
He can be manipulated by external forces. You just need a demagogue telling him what to do, and they'll follow. Um, if the person is grounded in authenticity, that
Yes.
person cannot be manipulated.
Mm.
If that person is in his or her heart in love and empathy and kindness,
Yep.
you won't manipulate that person.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I love it. I love it. Reno, this has been a delightful chat. I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to connect today. I think your insights, certainly around nature in general and the correlations to living a purposeful life and being authentic ourselves are spot on. So thank you for sharing that. For listeners that wanted to connect with you directly or learn more about your work, where can we send them?
Well, of course, on my website, reinoGevers.com, my YouTube channel, Living to Be, uh, the podcast of the same name, Living to Be, with regular features, interviews, and insights that I post on a regular weekly basis. And you'll find my contact details on my webpage. And of course, my books are available where all good books are sold.
Awesome. It's great that you keep yourself as busy as you have been. Lots going on, which is great. Congratulations on the good stuff you're doing. You're putting a great energy out in the universe, and I'm sure it's definitely appreciated. And as well, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank you for being a guest today on the Audacious Living Podcast.
Thank you so much, Audley. It was great to be having this conversation with you.
Back we are here on the podcast, doing our conversation with Reino. We touched on the importance of being in tune with nature and how it reflects the cycles of life. One of the main points that resonated with me was Reino's belief in the necessity of taking time out for reflection, much like nature does during the winter months. This period of withdrawal allows us to rediscover our true selves and prepare for the growth that comes with spring. What I personally loved about the interview with Reino is his infectious passion for helping others, and especially when it comes to finding their purpose. And he has this ability to weave together personal stories that illustrate the transformative power of walking in nature. If you'd like to connect with Reino directly or learn more about his work, I encourage you to check out the show notes for his contact details. You'll also find information about his latest books and any special offers that he may have for listeners. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for tuning into the Audacious Living Podcast. If you've enjoyed the conversation, please like, follow, subscribe, or share this episode if you haven't already done so. These are things that help us continue to grow and inspire others on their journey to living audaciously. So remember that your life is your canvas, so it's your job to make it a masterpiece. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stephenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.